is Kelvin Bell, the recruiting coordinator here at the University of Iowa. Been back, this will be my 5th season here at Iowa, 2 seasons as a special teams graduate assistant, 2 seasons as a director of on-campus recruiting, and then my 1st season as a recruiting coordinator, assistant defensive line coach. And those past experiences, and also along with being a former player here back from 2000 to 2002, those past experiences here, I think it gives me a wealth of knowledge for the position that I'm in right now. As a recruiting coordinator, really, like I said before, my job basically, I coordinate the efforts of the coaches as far as, where they go on the road, what areas are we recruiting, also managing the recruiting budgets as far as, the 85 scholarships. And then when you have those 85 scholarships, where are those scholarships spent? There's a certain allotment of players. You want to divide that roster up. Have so many quarterbacks on scholarship, so many running backs on scholarship, so on and so on. So the management of the roster and also the coordination of the coaches when they're out on the road, as far as mining their areas, is the primary responsibilities that I have as a recruiting coordinator.
You said roster management. I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. You go ahead, Scott. I'm sorry.
My name is Scott Southmaid. I'm the Director of Player Personnel here, and this is my 15th year with the Iowa football program. I'm a native Iowan, born and raised, and went to graduate school here at the University of Iowa. I started working with the football program at that time back in 2002, and kind of a number of different areas, but one of my roles here is, it's always been a team effort here, and we host families and recruits as they come to campus. We set up their visits. We are identifying prospects as we go through the process, and helping to kind of piece together all of the information that we have, whether it's from the coach's video evaluation to the prospects' academic information, and then just all of the other things that we gather from coaches and our coaches out on the road recruiting. So those are a lot of things that I help with and work on here in the office.
You talked about roster management. What does that entail exactly? That sounds like it could be, I imagine you're just keeping track of how many old linemen you have. Is it that simple, or what else goes into it?
Well, yeah, you have to pay attention. You have to pay attention to the way that your team is built. And at Iowa, strong tradition up front, offensive line and defensive line. So you want to make sure that the accurate amount of scholarship numbers are allocated for that position. And so basically just trying to balance, the amount of scholarship players that you have per position. We're not going to keep, when you're talking about 85 scholarships, there's no reason for us to have 15 receivers on scholarship. That's not who we are. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So we want to make sure that we balance the roster to fit the kind of team that we want to have on the field. So, and making sure that all positions have, the adequate number versus, the amount of reps that those guys are actually going to play.
So when you got the job, did you have to roll up your sleeves and say, okay, we're short here, or we're heavy here? Do you kind of round that out? I mean, is that kind of your directive, your job?
Well, that part is a collective effort.
Okay.
Not just from, it's not my job to say that. We take input from the coaches as well. From the head coach Ferentz. But basically, we want the team to reflect the way that we play. And then that needs to be reflected in the way that we distribute the scholarships. So, that's a collective effort. But sometimes, some years you're out of whack. Some years you're light. In some places you're heavier than others, and it's always a fight to try to keep that thing in balance.
Kelvin, have you kind of gotten a defined area that you're going to be recruiting? I know Seth would spot recruit. Are you going to do some of that? You're going to be gone during the weeks during the season sometimes? I
will take off during the season, as needed, to check on some in-season prospects. The areas that I recruit personally are Southwest Ohio, the entire state of Indiana, Western Michigan, And then I spot recruit other areas as well that are kind of outlying areas that we don't normally spend time.
So to any of you three, are you guys often the first ones to see a prospect for the first time and then it gets to the coaches, or how does that work? Are you one of the initial talent identifiers in your guys' roles?
Per NCAA rules, non-accountable coaches can't actually be.
You can't do anything like that? Okay.
Kelvin, in his role as a coach and recruiting coordinator, is able to do so. So usually Kelvin.
So he's the only one of the three that can do that?
Yeah, the first, and then once you identify a prospect, once you see a prospect, and you can imagine the amount of emails and letters and things that we get from kids that want to be recruited. But once that prospect is identified, and we have time set up during the week where coaches watch film according to their area, but then you want to escalate that player to the position coach. So, if I'm in Indiana and there's a running back that I see that I like, I watch the film, I think it's good, and I take that to the running backs coach.
Todd, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and talk about your duties and coming back to the campus here.
So Tyler Barnes, director of recruiting, just got back in April. Excited to be back here, obviously at my alma mater. I was joking, maybe the easiest transition I've had. Not a lot changed since I've left. I had a chance to work with Kelvin and Scott both, and most of the staff that's here, so it was easy to kind of slide back into things. But a lot of what I do, and Kelvin and Scott can probably say the same thing. There's a lot of stuff we do in conjunction with each other, but I'll kind of manage our recruiting database, where stuff is housed in terms of all the recruiting information, help out with our recruiting board. With Scott to kind of manage that, keep it up to date for our staff. Three of us will work in conjunction with Coach Ferentz to kind of look at our scholarship numbers, and I don't know if Kelvin's mentioned this yet, but kind of talk about projections on where we're going next year, what we need, what needs to be identified. As you guys know, it's pretty fluid throughout the year. It can change week to week, day to day. But we'll kind of keep talking about that and keep everybody up to date on what the needs are there. When our guys go out in the fall, Kelvin, when he'll go out during the season, we go out in the contact period. When our guys will go out in the evaluation period this spring, work with Kelvin and Scott to kind of make sure our guys are hitting who they need to hit, covering what they need to cover. Scott and I will be in the office when those guys are out, since we can't go out, and we'll field a lot of calls, kind of just direct traffic. Kelvin does see a running back that he wants Coach White to put eyes on. He may be in different schools throughout the day, so I get that back to Scott and myself, and we'll kind of play operator a little bit and pass that along. I'll work with Scott and Kelvin to help out with all planning and organization and execution of unofficial visits, official visits, game day visits, really any recruiting functions that may take place on campus here. And then, let's try and spend a couple hours a day just reaching out and touching our top targets, whether it's via Twitter, now via texting, really just kind of keeping guys up to date, keeping those relationships going, and then, starting September 1st, we can start talking to the next class. So we'll work on that, developing those relationships and kind of just helping out where it's needed whenever things pop up, where there's statistical research, anything our position coaches, Scott, Kelvin, Coach Ferentz needs, just kind of popping up there.
You guys kind of talk a little bit about pecking order. You cast a wide net, you make a lot of offers, however, maybe you make 15, 20 offers to wide receivers, you're going to take 4 in a class. Is it first come, first serve? Is there, if there's a local kid who maybe fits the bill and you kind of want somebody local, do you tell other recruits, look, we're going to wait until this guy, one way or the other? How does that process work, soft verbal versus hard verbal?
Well, we want to make sure, and the right word is fit, and you are correct. There's a lot of times where you will offer multiple players at a position, and and we know in-house the number of players that we want to take at that position. But as far as the pecking order goes, it all based on fit. The primary thing is getting kids here to Iowa City. Once a kid that we've offered makes a visit to Iowa City, then that kid's going to be held in high regard with us because he's made the trip, he's paid the money to come here to check it out. Versus a kid who, on film, may be more talented, maybe better athletically, but like I said before, we want to make sure we put our hands on these kids. So I guess that pecking order starts with kids who visited Iowa City, and not just based on what you see on film. And then it's a job of the area coaches to do the research, finding out about the kid character-wise, finding out about his home life, finding out about him academically, to make sure that he's the right fit for Iowa City, for the University of Iowa and Iowa football.